Hey everybody, Julie Quinn here, and I would like to give you a little bit of like a 5-minute tutorial on really effective discussion board responses, and I want to base it on the actual discussion this week. So you're expected to listen to the podcast or, alternately read the transcript about the beauty tutorials where Dr. Chong was interviewed. She's the writing and rhetoric professor, and the discussion itself asked you to respond to 6 different sets of questions. You can see that in some of them, there's multiple questions. Sometimes when students do these types of responses, they tend to just answer the question here. And I'll tell you, it's sometimes hard when there's lots of questions built in to differentiate where the student is actually responding, because once in a while, students will ask rhetorical questions, and I'm like, well, who asked the question? Was that built into the prompt, or is that part of the student's response? So let me give you a couple of quick and easy hints on how to make your discussions pop and think like let's call this think like a technical writer. Because if you can make your discussions really easy to navigate, you're doing the work of a technical writer, because the idea is to navigate information. And of course, technical writers want readers to be able to follow processes. But when you're writing a discussion, you want your readers, your professor and classmates to be able to quickly know what you know, to be able to quickly understand, and to be able to differentiate those questions and answers. And so here's how I would do it. Since there are a series of 6 sets of questions, I cut and pasted that into a Word document. After each answer, what you can do, you'll notice I was actually blending answers 1 and 2. Why don't we go in and why don't we do a break, and then you can do basically it's going to ask you to do 2 returns, which is fine for now. So it gets us out of the sequence of the numbers, but we've got everything broken out. Each of those questions, I can see where each one begins and ends, and sometimes it just takes a minute, but there we go. Okay, now this is pretty easy to read. You could also, if you wanted to, make each of these pop by making them bold. You don't have to, but it helps a reader differentiate between the question and the response. It's a way of creating what we call contrast, and we'll be talking about PARC concepts of website design later. Contrast will help keep all of the questions in sync, and then the responses right below it. You'll notice that I created the spaces in between each of the sections of questions. And then I bolded it because you've got these little paragraph returns between each. And I want my should not be bold. This also allows for contrast. The question is bolded, the answer isn't. And then there's a nice ease and flow within the text. So you can see how the student responded to each section, and it doesn't have to be labor-intensive read. It's just, I'm looking at the questions, I immediately see your answers. Things are absolutely set off in this way. You'll notice as well that we've got some nice alignment. We've got that contrast. We also have what's called proximity. So if you bundled all of your questions together and then you just decided to just do answers here, well, readers may get lost. Well, which one of these questions are you answering? I think for proximity's sake, keeping the question and the response tightly together, you can create that one little space, and we've got a really nice practice of document design as you're thinking about the response. Now, you don't have to cut and paste this in, or you don't have to, well, let me step back. You don't have to save this as a Word file and attach the Word file. You're welcome to then cut and paste this into the discussion itself. That's fine. For the shorter non-draft type of discussions, you don't have to attach a Word file. You're welcome to, though. I don't mind reading the Word files at all, but I hope you notice that if you make your discussion responses easy to follow, technically useful documents, you're gonna see really high grades on those discussions, not just in this class, but in upcoming classes. And you can probably see how document consistency can absolutely help in the workplace as well. So that's my little blurb about preparing really easy to navigate discussions, especially when you're being asked a lot of questions. And if you have any questions for me, just reach out and let me know.